Do you think this sounds good? Neither does anybody else. That's why today we're talking about stepping up your audio game. Let's get undone.
Gerald Undone. He's crazy.
What's happening, Dong Squad? I'm Gerald Undone, and today, as promised, we are discussing audio, how to improve your audio. And this is for YouTube videos, for streamers on Twitch, for people who are doing just some light video production. Keeping it simple, keeping it more likely useful to the viewer of this video. If you remember in the last video where we talked about audio interfaces, which we'll be getting to shortly, I said that today I would be making a video where we talk about sort of the introduction to the audio chain and how to get the best, where to start getting the best sound, really. And so that's what we're going to do today. This is going to be part one of the audio series. Today we're only going to be talking about the beginning stages of the sound, because I always say that the biggest improvement usually starts at the source. Step one to getting good audio is create good audio. So this takes practice, but you know how if you watch YouTube videos, you see a lot of people where their levels are constantly going up and down, and sometimes they peak, their audio clips, cuts out, it goes too low, you can't hear them, you're adjusting your levels, and then if they want to fix that in post, they have to use a compressor. But the more effects that you add in post, which like I said, we'll get to probably in part two, the more digitized and I guess fake, and you can tell. If you take a really poor grade sound and you run it through a bunch of effects to try to make it sound good, it's never going to sound quite as good as just like that creamy broadcaster voice that you're probably going for. And a lot of that comes from the fact that people that you'll hear in broadcasting have great voices for this to begin with, and they've trained to deliver their audio in almost as if a compressor was already applied. So I urge you to practice this, and it's pretty easy to do. First of all, get your posture right, okay? Make sure you're taking deep breaths. Find a good part of your voice that is an even point, because sometimes you can talk up here, you can talk way down here, depending on your voice, and your vocal range. But there's usually a frequency where your voice operates, where your loudness is more uniform. And you can do this in a few ways. Like on the camera for instance, I can actually see my audio levels moving. So I could talk in a way where I try to keep the levels and if I see them moving up and down like that, that means I'm not doing a very good job. But you could just count at the camera. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can do it in your editor, you can do it on your camera, you can do it if you have a recorder, you can do it sometimes just the little, like OBS, if you use that for streaming, has a little thing. You can just see where the levels go, and you can try and get consistent vocal performance. That is key. If you have a consistent vocal performance, you can do a lot with very little, without processing, without anything too fancy, just because you performed well. And I'm just talking about talking, by the way, and it's not even just singing, but the same principles apply to everything. The better that the sound starts in your mouth, so the better that you create sound there, the better process you're going to have. So start that. That's free. Practice that. Get that going. Okay, number two, where does the sound go? Well, it goes into the microphone. This is a Cardioid condenser microphone. I think that if you want like a really, really sort of excellent vocal capturing device, a condenser mic for a studio setting is a good way to go. Within that though, so like I said, this is a cardioid pattern. That means it kind of is shaped like a heart, cardioid, cardiac, heart, and that's the pattern of which it picks sound up. So on this microphone, the element is right here, and the cardioid pattern would be kind of like something like this. So you can hear the sound, maybe not completely as well, but still reasonably good in sort of an area around it. Where an alternative to that would be something like a shotgun microphone. Its shape of how it receives sound is much more pointed, and I guess that's where it gets the idea of the shotgun from, but it's more like a spearhead, coming in this way rather than sort of a fatter kind of shape like a heart. The reason why these shapes are important is because you need to know what your situation is, how you're going to be recording. Are you going to have a lot of noise and other things that you want to try to cancel out that are coming from over in this way? Then maybe you want something more focused like a shotgun. But I still think that getting a little bit of tone of what's coming around the audio in this kind of way is going to produce a better sound. So if you can control the audio in your space, then you have a lot more flexibility, obviously, and by control the audio in your space, I mean control other sounds and control how your sound is moving around in your space. Then you can use hypersensitive microphones and turn them up and position them in all kinds of cool ways and stuff like that, and you have a lot more flexibility. But if you're in some run and gun scenario and you know when you want to cancel other things out, that's why people often use shotgun microphones, on their cameras, like the Rode mic and that kind of thing. So those are some things to keep in mind when we're talking microphones, because microphones are very, very important. A common theme that goes around is that gear isn't that important, and it's more about the story and that kind of stuff. And I agree with that to a certain extent. But when it comes to capturing things, again, I already explained this, it's sort of you start, and the more steps you get away from it, the less important it gets, in my opinion. So the most important thing is the sound coming from your mouth. The second most important thing is the thing that captures the sound. The third most important thing is how that sound is then, converted or delivered into the next thing. And it gets less and less important from then on, as long as you don't have a complete break in the chain. So for microphones in a controlled space, put a cardioid condenser mic on some kind of arm. I've got the Rode flexi arm thing here. It's great. I can move it around. You've probably seen a lot of YouTubers use this kind of setup. There's my microphone is a Studio Projects mic. You can't really get this one anymore, but I'll put some links in the description to microphones that are very, very excellent for their price point. I guess I should have said this earlier. This is part of the vocal performance. Talk at the mic. If the microphone is over here, so now the mic's over there, and I'm talking over here, not only am I going to have to boost the levels, which means I'm also boosting the noise in the environment, because there's always noise in the environment. Listen carefully. You hear all that? That's just going on. And a lot of environments, unless you've soundproofed them, are going to have stuff going on. So the further away the mic is, the more I'm going to have to boost the signal in order to get the same level, that same, constant vocal performance. But now you're going to be picking up all this other junk. And if you can get the mic real close, so if I can bring the mic in here and talk, I can talk a lot quieter. But if I talk loudly enough into the mic like this, then I can probably bring the levels down to a point where we're not going to hear as much of the other noise that's going on, and we'll get what seems like a much cleaner sound. But if you have a reasonable control of it, you don't even need to see the mic. Like I have the mic down here below where you can see it, so I get to control my shot better, but I'm still projecting my voice at the microphone, and I have to be careful not to, say I'm holding something up. I don't want to be holding this up in front of my face, because it's so easy to hear that, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Do you see how the audio changes them? Don't block your sound. Sound is waves, straight line into the microphone, and you're winning. Your sound quality is going to go way up just by talking directly into the mic, and you'd be surprised how many videos and stuff that I see where people are all over the place. They're talking over here, talking like this. They're blocking their face. They're getting real close. They're getting real far away. It's not consistent. Do your best to deliver a consistent performance. Okay, so moving on, like I said, we'll try to keep the chain going here. I have a pop filter. That's what this is in front of the microphone. It does some things. For some people, you might not notice a lot. For other people, you'll notice a lot. These things are designed to remove some of the unwanted effects of a vocal performance, whether they be like plosive sounds that you get with like, or some people suggest that it helps a little bit with de-essing, which is that kind of the sound that comes in the end of it. Anyway, usually they're pretty inexpensive. You just clip them onto whatever apparatus you're going, and it also stops you from kind of spitting into the mic a little bit. I mean, I don't know if that's its full intention, but there's something you might as well put on if you can. They're not that expensive. It'll probably help enough people to make it worthwhile to recommend it to all people, I guess. So you got that, you got the microphone, you got the vocal performance, right? And now we're moving on. How is the microphone suspended? Like I said, I like to use the Rode, but basically some kind of way where you can suspend the mic, where you can get the mic as close as possible to your face and have control over it whilst not elbowing it or knocking it around. And ideally not putting it on a surface that, say, if you had like a mic stand right on your desk and you're typing right beside it, that's no good either. So you kind of want to get it up and at them and near you and close. With a lot of things, the closer the better. It's the same thing with light. The closer the light is to the subject, the softer it will be. The further away, the harsher it'll be. Same with sound. The further away you are from the mic, the harsher, the worse the sound will be. The closer the sound is to the mic, the better it will be. So same concept. Try and find a way to get your mic up and at them, okay? The cord, most microphones that require this type of power will use an XLR cable, which is that big guy with the 3 dots. Looks like this. XLR connectors are great. They're secure. They feel good, they're usually pretty rugged, and they provide resistance against interference and that kind of stuff. Often in the case of these types of microphones is they require something called phantom power, which is that you can't just go plug in the microphone in and start talking and hoping that's going to work. You need to give it a little bit of extra juice. So you're going to need something that provides phantom power. Now there are a lot of things that do this. You can plug your microphone directly into your camera if your camera has an audio interface that takes XLRs and have phantom power. So cameras sometimes have that. Audio interface, USB audio interfaces, which is what we were talking about in the last video, they usually provide phantom power on the microphone inputs. Go ahead and watch the previous video if you want to know why I use the audio interface that I do, and some comparisons between popular models like Steinberg's series and the Focusrite Scarlett series. But basically, you need an interface that has nice, clean preamps so that your great vocal performance that's going into your microphone, where your microphone's positioned right, everything, it's not going to get corrupted by some crappy device that when you plug into it has like hums and loops and stuff. You don't want any of that. You just want something that's going to boost your signal nice and cleanly and give you a couple little controls and dials so you can set the volume, turn your phantom power on off, maybe give you a little indicator of when you're peaking, when your audio is clipping, just stuff like that. That's all you need. A nice clean preamp basically, and then you can connect that to however you're recording. So I'm not going to go too in depth about the audio interface. Like I said, watch the previous video, but use something good. Now, after that, you got to get that audio out of the interface and put it somewhere. Now, audio interfaces usually have two ways. Obviously, they have a USB thing. That's why they're USB audio interface. So that can go right into the computer. So the audio interface will do the conversion from an analog sound, which is my mouth into the microphone, whatever, into a digital sound into the computer via USB. You'll record it that way using your favorite audio suite or your video editor. Or if you're streaming, that's what OBS is going to recognize. That's a device that you're going to see on your computer that's going to allow you to put your voice through your stream on the internet. So what I do when I'm recording videos like this is, in addition to the device being connected via USB to my computer, I also use an analog connection, a 1/8" sort of like headphone jack type, because that's what my camera takes. And it goes straight into my camera, down, and it's a 1/4" connector into the back of my interface. And this allows me to also deliver the sound to the camera so that the camera is making a recording of it. And if I want to have a backup, I can also record it via USB into my computer as well. So that would be sort of the final delivery of the sound in this case before we go into then packaging and processing the sound. But one thing I want to touch on, it'll be my last point for this video, is a lot of people caution to not put the sound directly into the camera, because there's a new set of things that are now factoring in on your sound quality when you plug it into the camera, which is what kind of preamps are in the camera, what kind of signal to noise ratio does the way that the camera receives the sound have, how is the camera going to be monkeying with the sound, what's the jack quality, just like is it a crappy connection. And my personal opinion is, as long as the vocal performance is good, the microphone is good, the signal is clean, the preamp is keeping it clean, and it's being delivered into the camera, and all of the amplification is done outside of the camera, you're not going to notice a difference. And in this case, what I mean by that is I have my gain turned up to a position that I like it, so the camera doesn't really have to do anything. If the camera then has to amplify the sound again because it's not loud enough, then you're going to get yourself into a situation where, however good the camera's preamps are, that's when it's going to start to be a factor. But you can turn that down all the way in your camera. If you think that you can give the camera a nice, clean, amplified signal, then in the camera, turn its amplifier all the way down. Usually you have to set it to -12 or something like that, but just turn it all the way down so that it's not boosting the signal at all. It's just receiving the signal, and then it'll be 95% as clean as anything else. So you don't have to worry about it. All right, so that's going to be it for this video, because I wanted to take just this one to explain how to get the quality sound delivered to the recorded source so that then we can mess with it. Because just jumping right into here's what to do to clean up your audio, or here's what to do to make your audio sound better, if you don't, you got to start with the voice, because you can't just take any old audio that you find and watch a video of just put a compressor on it and everything's fine. It's not just going to be everything's fine. Start with a good recording, then move out from there. So I wanted to give you guys how to start with a good recording in a usage scenario that's probably more common. We're not in a sound stage right now. It's just a dude at a computer with a microphone. How can we get the best audio out of that on a reasonable budget. That's what we try to work on. And speaking of the budget, like I said, relevant links are going to be in the description. Go ahead and check those parts of the things that I recommended. If also, check out my kit link if you want to see the specific gear that I use. But I'll put some recommendations in the description just as loose links. But the next video is going to be, now that we have the sound, how do we make it, improve it? How do we make it sound great? What kind of effects and processes should we run on it to improve it? And what kind of common problems do you have with audio, and how can we improve them? That's going to be the next video, and that one should be out on Tuesday. So if you've been enjoying this series, make sure you subscribe and check out Tuesday's video if you want to know more about the audio stuff. If you have any questions at all, let me know in the comments, and I will try to answer them for part 2 of this audio series. And as usual, if you found this video useful, helpful, or entertaining, go ahead and give it a like. And if you did not find it any of those things, feel free to hit the dislike button twice. All right, I'm done.